Friends, if you think you know what real television rock bottom looks like, you have no idea what they've done in the new season with a personality whose name alone is a scandal machine, devoid of meaning. Welcome to the insane world of archetypes, where every episode is a thinly veiled ego trip of the most incomprehensible heroine of modern TV. But this conversation won't be about a quiet escape far away from reality, but about how Meghan Markle is trying to break into your living room with a show that doesn't know what it wants to be, but definitely doesn't want you to be happy here. But if you decide to stay, you'll find facts, revelations, and gruesome details that the episode won't say directly, but we will tell you everything. Episode 5 of Season 2 of Archetypes, Part 2, is strange. Meghan spends time with Jay Shetty and his wife, and opens the episode with Jamie Kern-Lima at an olive farm, where they learn about the olive oil making process and look around the farm. But then Jamie Kern-Lima is absent from the episode. It's very strange. Where did she go? Was she not invited? Or did she not want to be in an episode with Jay Shetty? Both Jamie Kern-Lima and Jay Shetty have a certain degree of controversy in their spheres, where some people believe that they are possibly taking advantage of people in the self-help space and the like. Perhaps Jamie Kern-Lima didn't feel that her podcasting brand, values, and religion meshed well with Jay Shetty's more new age approach. I don't know, but it was strange and noticeable, and it wasn't explained. Then Meghan just kind of ended up being the third wheel with Jay and his wife, and it felt awkward sometimes. It really was. There were very strange vibes throughout the episode, especially in the intro with Jamie Kern-Lima, and then no mention of her absence. It's not normal when someone appears in the opening scenes of a show and then just disappears from the rest of the episode without explanation. It's strange. Anyway, the Shettys still seemed like a safe choice because their reputation is very good, and they're very polite people who don't say anything bad about anyone. Even without an NDA, it seemed like a safe play. But it's a little curious that they agreed to be on the show. I wonder how they reconcile being on Meghan's show with their brand, which is very meditative and seems like a brand that wouldn't support someone who's been lying to people on TV for years. I don't know, just my observation. These two things seem like opposite ideas. Again, there were voiceovers added to create transitions between things to explain what they were doing here and there to try to fix some of the issues from Part 1. But again, like all the other episodes, the voiceovers are very obvious and clunky. But apparently they heard the criticism about the disorganized abruptness of Part 1, where the guests looked very confused, and the viewers were confused about what was happening and the flow of the episodes, the format of the episodes, because Meghan, I noticed, added voiceovers several times in post-production to smooth out the transitions. Okay, while this is cooking, while we're waiting for this to rise, let's go into the workshop to kill this time while we're waiting for something to finish in the kitchen, for example. And in fairness, it does help a little bit in terms of the flow and the format of the episode. But Roddy was running most of the episode and was leading the entire cooking process. Like other episodes so far, it's obvious that the focus was shifted to make the guest look more like the leader who's teaching Meghan something, because they noticed that in the first few episodes things weren't going very well, and they had to change course and rely even more on post-production, because obviously most of that heavy lifting to create the impression that Meghan was a student was done in post-production, because these aren't scenes where she's face-to-face, shot from afar, telling the person, "Show me how to do this." It's a voiceover. "Oh, I'm glad you're here to teach me this," or "I'd like you to teach me more." Also, throughout both parts, Season Part 1 and Season 2, in all the episodes, the music is overwhelming. Especially in certain moments, it just sounds like noise, just like they're full blast, because it's a little louder than background music normally is in an episode, and also because the song choices don't always fully fit the moment. For example, they're either too intense or too loud or too energetic for the moment. I mean, what Meghan does is really bland and boring and small and, just controlled. So you don't expect more lively music during something like that, but sometimes it feels like it just doesn't match what's on the screen. It's too lively for what's on the screen. And the point of that is obviously just to sell a certain vibe, a certain narrative, a certain energy, to convey a feeling. But the feeling and the atmosphere that the music creates just don't match Meghan or what we're seeing on screen. So sometimes, especially in this episode, it was too much because it was too disjointed from what was happening. It didn't fit. So it felt overwhelming, loud, and noisy, and just wrong for the episode. The reason they made that choice is obviously because they had to remove so much audio from Meghan's self-serving talks that they had to fill the awkward silence. They couldn't just be silent, and they didn't have other sound bites. so they just had to play music over everything. And there still aren't enough instructions, so you're just watching something get done, and you're just watching Megan list some elements of what's happening, but she's not teaching the viewer anything. I can't remember any other shows in this genre. For example, lifestyle, cooking, gardening, homemaking, crafting on YouTube. There's a huge variety on network shows or streamers. There's less variety but a lot in terms of cooking and things that are mostly based on cooking. But among all of that, I can't remember any other show that does anything like this, where you just watch it happen and you don't get any substance or instructions, or there's no other element to engage the viewer. For example, I really like cooking and baking competitions like the Great British Bake Off. When Mary Berry was there, it was one of my favorites of all time. I like some of the Spring Baking Championships or Holiday, or some of the cooking competitions. Now, in cooking competitions, you don't get the recipe. You don't get the recipes for how they cook these things. And Megan doesn't tell us how to cook them. But the difference with the competition is that you're watching them compete, and you're watching them get judged, and you're seeing the dishes get made. It's exciting because they're racing against the clock, or they're trying to do it better than everyone else, or something like that. And then you see the finished product. You see it get tasted. You hear the criticism, and then you know someone gets eliminated at the end of the episode, or something like that. Someone gets an advantage at the end of the preliminary stage, whatever. So the competition is the excitement that sets the pace and sucks you in, making it interesting to watch. It's the competition, of course, so it doesn't matter that you don't get the recipes. But then there's instructional content, where there are real recipes like In the Garden and all the other cooking shows that there are so many of. Too many examples to list. Now, you get real recipes, you see real techniques, you see them use equipment and ingredients, and they show you how to cook them. And they offer tips on how they think it's easier. Sometimes they offer alternatives like, if you want to change this to this, or if you need to use this ingredient differently, or only add this if you like it, or if you're allergic to this, try this. If you don't have a mandolin, here's what you can do instead. Those types of things, and it demonstrates how to cook food and make recipes. Megan doesn't have that. So those are the two main directions in this genre. It's either a competition or it's instruction. And Megan is neither, which makes it really bleak. And it just highlights the fact that there's a reason why this whole formula of watch me do something but don't give the recipe or the cooking show version has never existed, because it doesn't work. Because it's boring and stupid, and it doesn't give the viewer anything to get interested in or pay attention to. Worse yet, Megan's takeaways are just basic platitudes, uninspired and boring things like, appreciate the craftsmanship of bread, or we're not striving for perfection, we're striving for reality. What value does that bring? It's not interesting to hear. It's just like, okay, all right, Megan. What are you even talking about? She'd be better off if she told us how to tell if a loaf of bread is going to be good. The crust, remember Ratatouille, one of the best scenes? She could at least add something like, how do you know if the bread is going to be good? Instead of just saying, I appreciate the craftsmanship of bread. You're doing it? Great. Good job. And she ends this episode talking about how important, how necessary it is to consider your guests' preferences. The hypocrisy is blinding. She neglected that towards her in-laws. She didn't consider their culture or preferences. According to her own words, she was offended that someone didn't want to share their lip gloss. She was offended that someone was wearing shoes when she was barefoot. She was offended that someone had personal boundaries when meeting a stranger. The insanity. Megan has portrayed herself as someone who is not accommodating at all, and now she's trying to erase it with this silly show. Hilary Rose wrote, Review of Archetypes. Season 2 is here. Start therapy now. It's not often I don't know where to start, so let's start with a question. Are you comfortable? Says Megan to her makeup artist cutting onions. And so we embark on the second season of Archetypes, a series in search of meaning led by a woman in need of money. The first episode is a look into the future of what the next 7 episodes may bring. Start therapy now. It never becomes clear why we should be interested in watching Daniel, Megan's makeup artist, cut onions, or why we should be interested in watching Megan make a caramelized onion tart. But look at all the beautiful clothes. Admire the constant changes of the soundtrack. And doesn't our mess look cute and well lit? In the first episode, our heroine awaits the arrival of 2 dear friends, whom she may or may not know. And Daniel, for example, can't believe they're coming. One is a guy from the Momofuku Fugugu Noodle Cafe, and the other is known for his playful desserts. What's that? A crumb with a sense of humor. A pie on a pea pillow. Megan powders Daniel's nose and Daniel smiles sweetly, or maybe the other way around. And we're only about 9 minutes in, and there's so much fun and good times ahead. The plan, it seems, is that Megan will cook beautifully, Mambo will transition to jazz, and then there will be a crafting segment that reminds me of something, but I can't remember what. I'll get back to you on that. We'll end by congratulating ourselves on our luck and a great flatbread. Along the way, there will be marble and sugar syrup, and who knows what else is in store. We started the first episode with a sunrise on the beach and ended with a sunset, which is such a smart trick. It's amazing that no one thought of it before. Meg lists all the things we've seen and done, and what a day it's been. If the first season of Archetypes had punny episode titles, I must have found them so funny that I erased them from my memory. Laugh along with me. A fresh look at Season 2, Episode 2, dedicated to bread baking, is called It's About Time. Remember, in the first episode, we were ordered to enthusiastically take on new projects. But enthusiasm is hard to muster when you're watching 2.5 hours of bland banality. But when our heroine appears dressed for baking in an artfully tied collared top, Princess Diana's golden watch, lovingly lit on her wrist, and I applaud. She weighs the flour and measures the water, and we see the readings on the digital scale rise and rise, which makes for such great television. It's amazing how they do it on Bake Off. Archetypes is confusing. It occupies the golden mean between inappropriate and unbearable. It's like an advertisement for a place we'll never go and we won't be invited to. An ego trip in a sun hat that boils down to this. Megan is beautiful and loves fried chicken and flower arranging. It's a bid for Miss World, not a concept for 10 hours of television. When the final credits roll and the team is forcibly having fun at the party, the song plays, "Don't let this be the last time. Please let this be the last time." Thanks for joining me in today's video. Hope you have a happy day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.